Hello, everybody. Welcome to Virgil's Studio. And this is the very first few seconds of the very first few chapters of something really big and epic I have in my mind. And I need to get this out there to everybody because I want people to enjoy the things that I have in life, which ends up being a big part of this is music and recording music and getting better as a musician and enjoying this journey called life via music and home recording. Wow, what a concept! What a great thing! Not so good for the recording industry, but pretty good for the home recording enthusiasts like myself. I've been doing this for many, many years. I think the first time I did a home recording was back in the 80s, which is a long time ago. And I just want to bring this whole joy to others. I've been teaching home recording actually to my guitar students for several years. And I'm always encouraging them to do home recording. And the reason is because nothing will so much get you so good on an instrument so fast than home recording. I'm going to give you a quick example here. If you had a little home recording setup and you figured out how to get like a little drum track going, so you'd have a drummer, and then you had this rhythm guitar where you're just kind of playing a little rhythm guitar and you want to try to put a solo on something, what's going to happen in that process is a lot of things, okay? And that's really what I want to be able to do, is be able to get you to start experiencing some of these things. So by the end of the seminar, that who knows if this will ever end, but somewhere along the lines, you should be able to kind of just say, wow, this is really awesome. Because as you're recording these things and putting these little tracks on, you're going to say to yourself somewhere in there, you're going to go, wow, this sucks. Yes, it's going to suck. And then you're going to say to yourself, self, let me try recording this again. Then you're going to hit stop, and you're going to hit record, then you're going to hit stop, you're going to listen back to it, and you're going to go, no, this is just treacherous. Let me record this again. And you're going to find yourself recording stuff over and over again. Now, is this where you want to be on music? Yeah, I guess at the very beginnings, this is an awesome place to be, because what's happening is your ears are getting better, right? And and you're listening to the things you're saying. I think I could do better than this. And before you know it, 3 or 4 hours have gone by and time stands still. And you just got in 3 or 4 hours of practice on your instrument. And you thought you were doing good with getting in that half hour of practice a day. This is really going to elevate your practice into another dimension here, if you could get going on the home recording thing. Now, this is a really wide topic, meaning we could go down so many bunny trails, and I plan on going down some of these bunny trails just for the heck of it. Plus, I like to do that a lot. I tend to go to talk about one thing, and then before you know it, we're in Iowa building some cornfield that's going to be a baseball field, whatever. So what we're looking for is we're looking to try to find out, how do I do home recording? And specifically, how do I do it on a PC? I am so sorry, all of you Mac users out there. And I do have an iPad. I peed. I peed on my iPad. I've got an iPad, and it's a great tool for composing and stuff, but it's a lot different than my PC. What is my background? Well, I've been playing guitar since before baseball. I should be a lot better on guitar than I am for somebody who's been playing for 45 years, but I will say this. I'm very satisfied with my playing when it comes to me recording things. And as a matter of fact, when I go to record things, it's usually pretty quick. I don't find myself to be any stellar musician by any means. Some people think I'm great. Others believe that I really need a lot more practice, hence me doing the home recording still. And it really doesn't matter what people think of me. It's whether I'm enjoying my part of the journey, which I totally am. And I've been recording for many, many years, and it ends up being probably the most joyful thing that I do. Over the past 2 years, I've been recording so much music that I can't even keep up with it. I think one of the big challenges with most people, and it's why I want to do this video, and there's no script here. I don't have any notes running over on my monitors that are behind this camera right now. I'm seeing an image of me, which I'm not really impressed with. All those years of that stuff. So what happens is I just pull this stuff out from here, and I'm trying to convey it to you, and hopefully we could get somewhere with this. So what exactly am I trying to teach you here? For free, by the way. There might be some items along the way that I'm going to try maybe putting a link to that I may earn a commission off of. Yeah, and it's like I'm so selfish because I want to make money off of the time I'm spending here. It ends up being that, or you can support me on Patreon. I have a page there, so there's always a link on all these videos. You could just visit there, click on the subscribe button. That's going to help. I'm going to go through this one over and over again. I'm not, I'm definitely looking for subscribers. So if you got a friend, you could tell them about me, whatever. That would be awesome too. It's how I'm going to make money off of this. And yeah, it is about making money, but I think what's more important to me, believe it or not, and I'm really sincere about this, is I want you to experience the joy that I experience when I do recording. We're going to go down a really long road, but it's going to be well worth traveled. I promise you that. So if you stick with me and you try these things, I think you're going to start finding some enjoyment out of it. And even if you play guitar just kind of a little bit, or you play another instrument, that's fine too. If you play death kazoo in a death polka band, that would work too. We'll work with you. I will work with you. Please send all of your submissions now. Okay, I'm ready. I'm waiting. What I'm wanting to do is to get you as a musician a little bit sharpened up on your skills. And I want to invite you into the world of computers. I'm assuming that none of you have ever recorded on a computer before. I haven't found a lot of videos that are targeted to the person who has never done this before. Like, we're starting out from like raw. And I know that there's so many great videos out there that are going to explain DAWs. What is a DAW? It's a digital audio workstation. That means your PC, or also known as personal computer, is going to have another life as a recording studio. And it's funny because if we went back in time, we're going to go back to the future, Marty, with like my computer right now, and we went to, I don't know, let's say 1974, right? With my computer and everything it has, it would probably be somewhere around a $30 million studio, only because of the capabilities that it has. There's arguments that are on both sides that are going to argue saying, well, you've got too much AI, artificial intelligence, so people are going to complain about that. We're going to have people complain about everything. Most of the things that I have here, it's going to be worth complaining about. And that's cool. Now, if you want to just complain about things, be a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem, okay? You got to remember that this is just the opinions coming out of one dude and his experiences over his 58 years of living, whatever, how I'm losing count. These are just my experiences. This is where I have gotten to today, and I'm going to show you how I got here. Whether you like it or not, or whether you choose to do it or not, I don't really care. I mean, this is totally up to you. I'm trying to encourage you, the viewer, to go ahead and try some of these things because it's really, really, really awesome, okay? So the next challenge ends up being you may be that person who's deathly afraid of computers. You may just say to yourself, look, man, I have a tough time just checking my email. I'm going to address that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to address that in today's video because this is where it all starts. It's going to start here. I want to give you kind of like an overview as to where we're going to go with this, but also where we need to start out at. And we're going to start with some super, super simple building blocks, okay? We do want to get to the point where we can plug in an instrument into our system somehow. We're going to go over that. And we want to be able to play our instrument along with some other instruments that we have no idea how to get into the machine there. I'm going to show you how to get these instruments into the machine. So I'm going to give you like this virtual band, okay? Just imagine a bunch of little robots jumping into your computer and saying, all right, Dave, you ready? Because it's always Dave, right? Or Sam. So that goes out to you, Sam. So what we want to do is we want to kind of just know that we're going to try to get something where we have kind of like almost like this jam tracks. I don't know if you've ever jammed along with jam tracks before. It's going to be kind of like that, but you're going to be creating the jam tracks. This is going to get you good at being able to do all this stuff. Now, this is never talking down to other musicians, meaning like, we're just going to use computer-based drums because drummers just aren't worth the time. That's not what this is about. As a matter of fact, if you could find yourself a drummer, that is awesome. I think that's missing a little bit in today's society. I know that I'm talking about making stuff on the computers, but we also are missing maybe a little bit of musicianship. So that's another awesome thing that you could do. You can actually network with some other musicians. Try to jam along with some others, man. That is probably one of the best experiences that you will ever have in your life. And that's really how I started out with. I know lately it's been more of like me just kind of composing on the computer, but that's fun too. So you want to try all different things and you want to just enjoy the journey no matter what happens, okay? I have some virtual instruments that are actually mind-boggling. You're going to sit there and go, oh my God, what's the point of even doing anything when it just does stuff on its own? You really need to have a grasp of music and music theory, or at least the basis of this, which I'm going to show you too. I want to show you all this stuff. This is also going to be contingent on subscribers or feedback. So if I'm doing all this stuff and I'm doing a ton of videos and I'm not getting any feedback, I don't know if I'm going to continue. So I'd love to hear some feedback, good or bad. Bring it on. Let's hear what you got to say. So what do we start with? Well, let's talk about some concepts that we would have to start with first. Well, how does this all begin? What do I do? How much is it going to cost? I think we should go shopping. I think we should go on a shopping spree. We should talk about how to do this on a shoestring budget. I think we should talk about this on the investment side of things, of saying to yourself, I wouldn't mind investing money if I know that I'd be able to do this. One of our biggest problems is fear, and this is what really stops us cold in our tracks almost every time, is this thing called fear, because all of a sudden it was like, man, I don't know if I could do this because I'm just not good on computers. And I'm going to speak to that from my own experience, because at the very beginnings, many, many moons ago, it ended up being me working at a company and trying to learn how to program phones. And I was really lost. I took 2 weeks of courses trying to learn these things, and I had no idea what they just showed me over the past 2 weeks. And one day I was in the warehouse, and the guy who worked in the warehouse there was throwing away a computer. And I said, wow, you guys are just throwing that in the garbage? He says, yeah, it's really old. It's an old IBM PS4, it was called, not to be confused with the PlayStation 4. And I believe this computer, when it was new, was, and I'm sure somebody's going to correct me on this, I think they were about $4,000 or $5,000 brand new, and they had like 8 megs of memory. Now, some of you right now are already getting diarrhea because I said, "Oh, he said computer words. He shut him down. Don't listen to him." This is the problem. The problem is you have fears as soon as you hear something like this. Now, remember, I'm just telling you a story here, and there's going to be some terminology that you may not be aware of. What's going to happen is I'm going to tell you things, and I'm not going to be able to give you all the answers. And I'm going to get this out of the way right now. I'm not going to be able to tell you every tiny little thing that's going to get you going from point A to point B and be able to record all this stuff. I'm going to give you the basic outline. Okay, so I'm going to give you the blueprints to this, but I'm also going to tell you how to figure out your own solutions. I'm running into problems all the time. I still run into problems. I was running into problems with this camera that I'm filming myself with, and I've been doing videos on YouTube for the past, 15, 16 years. And all of a sudden, this thing wouldn't work. So I had to do some troubleshooting, and then I finally figured it out. How did I figure it out? Is it because I'm a genius and I'm just like enthusiast? I'm an enthusiast to learn how to figure things out on the computer and I like to tinker a lot? Hell no. I Googled it. What? You did what? I Googled it. There's this thing called Google, and it has a search bar. If you don't know what I'm talking now, take some basic computer classes. But if you're still with me, I'm glad you're here. And you can type in questions in this bar. A lot of people just don't know that they could type any question in there. Any question you want. Careful, because you might just get what you're looking for. So what I had to do was I had to start looking for answers on this. It's like, Sony ZV-10 not working with Camlink. And then I searched that, and then all of a sudden there was a litany of videos. There was this thing there. And it was a video that showed me how to fix it. This is why I'm doing this, because I love the fact as to how much YouTube has changed. As a matter of fact, I was contributing to YouTube back when half of you were still shitting your diapers. Sorry, didn't mean say diapers. But I've been on YouTube for that long. I didn't know that you could do other things besides make a fool of yourself and just play music on YouTube. So what I ended up doing was I ended up using it like for the last 3 or 4 years intensely for tutorials. The tutorials are amazing. It is so rich with content right now. I can't get enough of it. I watch at least an hour worth of tutorials every single day because I am now addicted to this thing called knowledge. And when you start finding more things out, it becomes more interesting. And then you're going like, wow, this is super neat. My favorite thing these days is to learn how to do sound design with synthesizers. That's a whole other story we'll talk about some other time. But for you who's just brand new on this journey, man, you got to pull up this information as much as you can and start jotting down notes. I'm going to give you answers to your problems, okay? I'm giving you solutions to the problems here. The problem ends up mainly being maybe the viewer right now not following suggestions. I've been a guitar teacher for, 25 years, maybe something longer. I don't know. I lose count. And I noticed that my top students are the ones who actually jot down some notes. And they'll do this after they've taken a lesson with me because I let my students record so they have an audio recording and they jot down some notes. They don't reference those notes though. They just do the process of writing things down. So one of the greatest things you could do with this video is to play it back after you watch it and try to get some of these things out of here. You say, hey, this is kind of a neat idea. I'm going to just write that down. If you had a little notebook, this is really going to get you to where you want to be. You know, it really requires work and effort on your part to be able to do some of these things that everybody else is doing. There's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people out there who are doing home recording right now. We all had to go through the trenches, man, and figure out the rights and the wrongs of this whole thing. We had to go through hardware issues and everything and whatnot. And you will find out how to do these things if you're really excited for the end result. You will do anything in your power to be able to do this. My first day on a DAW was spent in a mobile home up at a friend's house, about 45 miles north of Tampa. And we sat there and his AC was out and we were trying to figure out this program called Cakewalk. And for the life of us, we could not get this going. We were both nobody on computer. We were like, wow, that's how you turn that button on. We're looking at this screen and we're just baffled why we can't get this thing going. We couldn't understand what was going on. And about a year later, I wound up with that same program right in front of me on my own computer, trying to figure things out. I'm going to explain different processes that are going to help you to figure this stuff out, okay? And this is not like this easy 1, 2, 3 thing, and then you're going to get it going, then you're going to be fine. You're never going to have a problem again. I run into problems, but they're far and few between these days, because what happens is as soon as you get everything going, you kind of leave it there and then you're okay. Sometimes things are going to crop up. It's a little unwritten contract that we have with computers. So as soon as I'm going in there and saying, hey, you know what? I'm doing this on this computer and I'm going to work on it and I'm buying this computer, there's an unwritten contract saying that either you are going to be figuring out any problems on there, or you're going to find a friend who's going to help you out with problems on there, or you're going to pay somebody to figure out those problems. So that is not the point of any of my tutorials here, is to not be Mr. Troubleshooter guy. I'm more of a tour guide to say, hey, you want to be able to get this, you want to be able to get that, and then you could watch videos on this and you could watch videos on that. I'm not a magician per se that's just going to wave my hand and go, ha ha, you are all computer experts. It doesn't really work that way. But I will give you advice that should help you get down the right road as you're trying to go into this little arena of ours. And as you see this and you understand some of the elements and the building blocks to this, then it should become a little bit easier as we go along, okay? So the next thing is we're thinking, well, how much does this cost? Well, let me have a sip of coffee and think about this one. You may be thinking to yourself, how much does this cost? And how many times will I be repeating myself? How many times will I be repeating myself? How much is this going to cost? This is a baited answer. And the reason is it's baited is because it could cost you actually nothing. Serious. You could pay $0 and you could actually start recording on your computer almost immediately. What does that mean? That means if you have the right cables, you could actually get away with recording onto your computer. Is it going to sound good? Probably not, but it is possible. We have to understand the basics of this and what we can and can't do. One of my students the other day was asking about upgrading his laptop. He's been recording on his laptop. He's gotten really, and he was super information highway roadkill 3 months ago. You mentioned the word computer, he would start like sneezing and going into convulsions. But now he's thinking about upgrading because this laptop is running a bit slow for all the stuff he's wanting to do on there, which is commonplace. So there are DAWs, and I'm going to say the word DAW several times here, okay? There are DAWs out there that end up being freeware, meaning you could actually download them for free and you could use them for free. Yes, there is free software out there, people. Oh, does that mean I'm going to get a virus? Yes, probably. No, just kidding. But you were nervous there, huh? You got diarrhea, and then you had to put it on pause. Okay, So what happens is, yes, there is tons of free software out there, and some of it's good, some of it's awesome, and some of it just sucks. So there is that. Now, I figured out the best way for me to actually do this is to do it with a software that I'm familiar with. I'm not a master at it, but I am familiar with it. I know how to get around. I know how to be dangerous. I know how to create some music through this. And I used to use Cakewalk, like I mentioned. I did that for years, and then they switched over to Sonar. And then they decided right mid-flight to redesign the entire software so nobody would know how to use it anymore. And I got really mad at them and decided not to do any upgrades until 4 or 5 years later when I wasn't so mad. And I went to upgrade and found out that they went belly up. Hey, imagine that. Keep on doing that to your users and see what they're going to do. Users mean it's not that guy downtown. Users are the ones, these are people, these are end users, they're called, and they mean us that are using the software, just like you are the user of YouTube right now, the users and abusers. So I ended up jumping ship, and I did a lot of research. And when I say a lot of research, I'm talking probably about 3 weeks of just going through, watching tutorials on all different types of DAWs. And there is quite a few of them out there. There's probably maybe about 6 to 10 super popular ones that are always fighting with each other in the competition with each other. And I'm the person who says, well, I want to have a lot more options than I probably need. I've always been that guy. The reason is where I started out at, and I'm going to give you that story. There's going to be a background story. We're going to talk about home recording in the earlier years for me and how I moved into using a DAW. I ended up using Cubase, made by a company called Steinberg, and they're in Germany, and it's a really good software for me. I have found it to be very flexible. I've had very little problems with the software. I've had a couple glitches here and there, but other than that, I have done lots and lots of recordings within this program over the past 2 or 3 years ago. I think about 2 years ago, I got the software, and I'm very satisfied with it. So I'm actually going to be showing everybody via that software. We're going to talk about that down the road. You don't need to run out and buy a software right now. So don't worry about any of that. We want to talk about some things. We want to see and have you qualify whether you should really even be going down this road or not. Because I do want to talk about some of the things that we can get in place first, just to kind of see if you want to do this. And it wouldn't hurt actually trying out with a freeware at first, just to see about getting your feet wet and giving this little wacky world a try. I also want to go over some hardware things you're probably gonna need, and I'm gonna just try to go through minimal stuff, but I will mention certain things that I use, which is not always minimalistic. We can go down this MacGyver road, which is going to be fine because that's how I started out. You know, I started out at the very beginnings with just a 4-track recorder, and I had nothing else at that point. It's like, okay, what do I do now? And this was around 30 years ago when I had got into home recording. So that's my plan, and I'd really like to show everyone how I do this. We're really going to dig into some neat stuff. There's going to be some music played. I'm going to say some really bad jokes. Hopefully I'll even make some friends along this journey, meet some new people out there in YouTubeville. I'm probably going to leave this video at a perfect 30 minutes. That would be great today, wouldn't it? So I don't know. I think that's going to be about it. Any comments? I'd appreciate you giving me any comments in the section down below. Make sure you hit that bell. There's a little bell there, and you could hit that little subscribe button. It's right over there, I think. Yeah, right there. Did you see that? Right in around there? So, okay. Everybody be safe and be kind to each other. Have a great day.